Okay, we're going to talk about the worm bin now. The worm bin is a point of contention between my family and myself. Not my immediate family, but my mother and my mother-in-law both hate it. They don't understand why I want worms in the kitchen. They only stay inside during the winter because I don't want them to freeze. In the summer and spring and fall, we keep them outside in a shaded area. It's better to keep them away from pine needles and things that can fall down in here because, as you can see, the lid's just a loose-fitting lid to allow for air circulation. So if it becomes too acidic in here, pine needles will kill them. So this is the bin. We have a layer of wet newspaper, and underneath we have our worms. Oh, yeah, and some tamale wrappers. And this is just about ready to become the middle level. You can see that everything's pretty much decomposing nicely. It's got that nice rich soil look, but this is all junk mail, kitchen scraps, and newspaper. So it's good for the environment and it's wonderful for your garden. And it should really have no smell, just a little bit of a mushroomy, earthy smell.
Eat some.
I don't think so. I'll serve some for dinner tonight. Anyway, so we're ready to add the next level, and this is something that was really difficult for me to understand, and I read up a lot about it online, but it's something that I just had to do for myself. So I don't know if I still do it correctly, but to add a new level to your worm bin, the first thing you're going to want to do is to go to your garden center and purchase some coconut fiber. And this is just a condensed brick of coconut fibers. It's organic, it's good for the worms, it's good for your regular houseplants too. Now you're supposed to, in an ideal world, submerge it in 2 gallons of water, but I didn't have that for demonstration purposes. I have a junky old bucket, and I'm a Leo, I'm too embarrassed to show you guys that, so I'm going to just do it in this better container. So you can see it's going to start to break apart, and we'll let that soak for a little bit. See how quickly it expands? It was just a minute or two and it's already starting to break apart really easily. So I'm not going to use the whole thing because it really does need 2 gallons of water to fully break apart. But I'm going to put just enough, oh there we go, just enough in there for the worms demonstration. So you're going to have this soupy mess. But to add it to your bin, you're going to want to wring it out, get all that water out of there so it's like a dry fiber. And if I was more prepared, I would have had this on here already. Okay. We'll just get this newspaper a little bit wet. Yeah, that'll be good. You want to line it with a little bit of newspaper. Not too thick because you still want the worms to be able to get up in here, but just enough to provide a new bed so the core doesn't all go down there. I'm sorry, Kiss, you're going in my worm bin. Sorry. Gene Simmons, who... Okay.
They just want to rock and roll all night.
They do. But we're partying. They'll party every day in the worm bin, so they'll be happy. Okay. So then you take your core and you wring it out. There we go. I'm just going to do that. Once you have your coconut brick distributed, then what you would do to entice your worms to come up, because they will come up to look for food, you pour your scraps in there. It's a guessing game with the worms. They usually eat more paper than they do actual kitchen scraps. In the beginning, when we first got our bin, we had about 2,000 worms, and we didn't feed them. We would feed them about this much every week, which was not very fulfilling. But we would feed them all of our junk mail, which was awesome, to give them those credit card statements and stuff, or credit card offers. When you get your worm bin, hopefully they'll provide a literature about what not to feed them. You can't put any citrus in here because it will burn their outer skin area. So this is a beet or something that we bought with good intentions to eat, but oops, we didn't.
We'll eat it in the future.
We'll eat it in the future. Some cantaloupe. They love cantaloupe and melons, and part of a leek, some bean pods from the farmer's market beans that we bought the other day. And that's pretty good. And then you just cover it up. Let's talk about pests that can get in your worm bin, because this really freaked me out. Not too long into the spring last year, I saw these things flying out and flying around our 6-year-old daughter. They look like wasps, but they're not. They're called soldier flies. They're completely harmless. They don't bite. They don't sting. They're just kind of slow, and they're very confused looking. Apparently they're very beneficial for the outside world. They're not too happy inside, so all they want to do is get out. And I spent a lot of time before the frost had gone away corralling these guys and trying to get them outside. But now thankfully the worm bin's outside, so they just hatch and we don't see them anymore, which is really pleasant for the whole family.